Order's on. Thanks, Dean. All right, we're going to call our meeting to order. It is Monday, August 13th at 6:02 p.m. This is the Town of Greenville's Town Board meeting. We start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Was the agenda properly posted? Is there any questions on that? Oh, you want me to do roll call, don't you? Everybody paused. All right, we'll do roll call. Mike Woods. Here. Andy Peters. Here. Dean Culbertson. Here. Mark Strobel is gone. Jack Anderson's here. The agenda was properly posted. Is there any questions on the agenda? Since there's none, is there a motion?
Second that.
Dean Culbertson's given the motion to approve. Andy Peters a second. All in favor to approve the agenda, say aye. 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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The agenda is approved. We now have a special recognition for Dale Walla. Dale, feel free to stand or wave your hand so everybody knows who you are in the room. Do you have anything you want to say?
I just want to mention on Thursday, August 2nd, I believe that's the correct date, right, Dale? Dale celebrated his 25th year anniversary working for the town of Greenville. To our knowledge, or at least mine, he's the longest tenured employee currently working for the town. Is that correct, Dale?
That's correct.
He is our institutional knowledge of all things Greenville here within the organization, so if we ever have questions, we go directly to Dale. He remembers when they used to all be housed across the street in the now current fire station and worked out of a single room. It was kind of a one-room schoolhouse, if you will, across the street when the town first started growing. So he's been actively involved as our building inspector for the last 25 years. And we thank Dale with a gift certificate from the town to a favorite restaurant spot in downtown near the PAC for him and his wife, because they enjoy going to some events there. And we had some cake. And we had, interestingly, 2 cakes because of the fact that the graphic artist for the cake kind of goofed it up. So we had 2 cakes that we all had to treat ourselves to for a good solid week and a half, right, Dale?
Yes. Still some in the fridge.
Yeah, there's some stale cake in the fridge from 2 weeks ago. So we just wanted to say thank you and recognize Dale for his continued dedicated service to the town of Greenville.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been an honor.
Dale, just a couple of words. I just want to thank you for all your years of service. You're not only one of the best employees that we've had in Greenville, but you're known throughout the state for your certifications, your qualities, and your reputation as an inspector. So we're very proud to have you as an employee for the town. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much, Dale.
I was expecting an emotional speech.
Yeah, turn on the mic.
It's all good.
He's shooting for 30, right, Dale?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we should have enough work for you, that's for sure. All right, so that moves us on to the public comment forum section. There's a couple people that are signed up. Aubrey, I'm going to wait until we get to your point in the agenda. So Dale, if you want to come up and speak, please come up to the microphone.
Yeah.
You need your name and address for the record.
My name is Dale Groskoff. I live at W6954 Spencer Road. Addressing the town tonight with regards to the property across the street. I'd like to start by thanking Dale Walla for fielding a lot of questions and having a lot of patience, I think, for me and my wife as we inquire about all this. A couple weeks ago, he started work again, moving land around, moving dirt, bringing dirt in.
Talk about your neighbor, right?
Yes, the neighbor. There's a dump truck, bulldozer, and a backhoe have been on the property for some time. He didn't have the permits for them, and then a stop work order was issued. That sign is now gone, so I don't know if he got a permit or took that out, but want to make you aware of that. Otherwise, it's all word of mouth and speculation, so you can't do much on that. But
I think Brian can provide you with some information on what's been happening there. So Brian, I'll let you have the floor.
Yep, I actually had contact with Spencer Main on Friday afternoon. I did get in contact with him, provided him with all the erosion control documents that he needs to fill out. Provided him with Chris Pagel's contact information, who issued use the erosion control permits. Chris attempted to reach out to him today to get that paperwork filled out. After speaking with him, he states as though he does not know what his intentions are for there. He originally told the town that he was putting in a food plot, and I let him know that I don't feel that way. It looks as though he's placing a road or a driveway.
Yep.
And when we got to the end of the conversation, he did agree that, he does have intentions of building a house or whatever it might be, but he said he had nothing in the works currently. However, he has over 4,000 square feet of disturbed land, so therefore he needs to have erosion control permit.
Okay, yeah, and I guess I want to restate that, again, it's all word of mouth through my neighbors. I haven't talked to him myself, but it's been consistently stated that he thinks he can put a building there for his concrete and or blacktop business. And he has also said that he's talked to the county about possibly getting access to 76 for that. So just want to say, we don't talk to a number of my neighbors. We don't think that's right for the neighborhood, and we just want to make sure that's not what the land's used for.
Go ahead, Dean.
Is this the address that came up about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months ago?
It's actually about
Who's
nine
concerned?
months ago. Yep.
Same one.
Yep, last October, I came in about it because
And he was flagged and he pulled whatever was up there?
So what he did do is, he did pull out a culvert permit to install the culvert for the driveway. It appears as though it potentially might be lengthening that culvert. There is another section of culverts that's there. It hasn't been installed. There is a band on it, assuming that he would be connecting to it. He said that all the equipment that's there is not his company's equipment. It's all owned personally by him. I don't know the details of that, but that's the angle he was making me aware of.
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate on that, so October is when Dale came in last. Chris Pagels did have conversation with Spencer Main back in October, asking that he provide some type of plan or proposal for the area of disturbance. We heard nothing from him after that point. He had indicated that he was going to cease doing any work on the site. We also inquired with Outagamie County zoning if there were any additional permits that would be required from county. There is a navigable stream that flows in the southwestern portion adjacent to this parcel. So there's a shoreland overlay that abuts the very southwestern corner of the property. However, it does not cross over into the county, into that individual's parcel property. So the county has indicated that they do not have jurisdiction over shoreland zoning because of that. It wasn't until within the last, I think, maybe week and a half that we got notification that additional work was going on. At that point, staff had drafted the cease and desist and stop work order at that property that was intended to be delivered, I think, Thursday or Friday of last week. Wasn't until Friday or Monday today that we picked it up on Friday. Spencer picked up his letter on Friday, and then he was asked to come in on Monday to complete the paperwork. If we do not find that he satisfactorily submitted the paperwork, he is in violation of the ordinance, and we would be prepared to start issuing citations.
that's all I have.
Well, I just have one other thing for you.
Sure.
I appreciate you bringing this forward, and just keep an eye on it. If you've got questions about what you're seeing there,
Yeah.
Mr. Rickards, our Public Works Director, you can contact Brian, or Joel Gregozeski, our Town Administrator. They'll
Okay.
get you going in the right direction.
Stop bugging Dale. It's so fun for Dale to call Dale, though.
You can call Dale. He always likes to hear from everybody, right? You might get picked on a little bit tonight, Dale. All right. So is there anybody else wishing to speak on public comment forum? Not seeing anybody raise their hand or stand, so I'm going to make the motion to close public comment forum. Need a second?
Second.
Second's been given by Mike Woods. All in favor to close the public comment forum section, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Public comment forum section is closed. Takes us to our consent agenda, which has our town board meeting minutes from July 9th, July 23rd, and July 25th. Also our August town vouchers, staff reports. There's committee reports, operators licenses, and a temporary Class B license application for the Civic Club. I believe this is for their summer send-off event at Lions Park. So out of this, I would like to pull the operator's license request for Aubrey Wenzel, and we'll talk about that under agenda item number 6. That's one item that I'm going to pull. Is there anything else that people have questions about? Otherwise, I'll take a motion on the consent agenda for what remains.
I'll move. Second.
Okay. Dean Culbertson's made the motion, Andy the second. Let's go forward with our vote. All in favor to approve the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Consent agenda is approved. It takes us to item 6, which we'll talk about the operator's license for Aubrey Wenzel. Aubrey, we need you to come forward to the podium and let us know what you'd like to discuss.
I'm super nervous.
As you can tell, there's nothing to be nervous
I
about.
know.
We're picking on Dale enough.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wenzel. I work at Sidelines in Greenville for the last 4 years. I love it there. It's like a job that helps pay for my son's extracurriculars and things that he loves doing. I work there not to drink and party, which isn't allowed, and we have a very strict policy on not drinking. I work there because I love the people, as I know a couple of you. Sorry, I have really bad anxiety. I don't work there a lot. I know that I only need a bartending license when I close, which is very rarely, but obviously I don't want to break any rules by all of a sudden getting caught by the time that I'm there. The reason why I'm not getting a license is because of an OWI I had 4.5 years ago, and I know which I talked to is 5. So almost there. I'm just asking that you reconsider renewing my license. I love it there. It's not like a party. It's a job, and a job I take seriously. So.
Okay. If you can handle just staying there for a
Okay.
second. Well, the board might have a couple of easy questions for you. So you said you had your OWIs 4.5 years ago?
And then I had one when I was 21, I believe.
So you've had 2.
Mhm.
2008 was your first.
I'm not sure.
2013-ish for the second one.
This actually, commission day was 2014.
14. Thank you. Okay. You guys have any questions for Aubrey? Dean? Mike? You look like you might. Do you have a license in any other municipality?
Yeah, I do hair. That's my full-time job. So a barber's license, driver's
Oh,
license.
for here. Yeah, I
Yeah.
meant for operator's license for bartending.
No. Mm-mm.
So just asking
Yep.
for it in Greenville. Okay.
Yep.
And our policy says 5 years. Is that correct?
And because the conviction date wasn't until 2014, it just falls into the.
Great. Good. Busy. My son's in every sport, so pay for that, do that. So really good. Yeah. Counseling, still do.
Anything else? All right. Anybody willing to give a motion? And how should that motion, before we make it, be stated? Because this was recommended to deny, so just probably make a motion to either approve or deny. How you should state it? Somebody's willing to make that motion?
I will make a motion to approve the operator's license for Aubrey.
I'll second that.
Andy's made the motion to approve. Mike's given a second. Any other questions or comments?
Just to comment, I think it's more that she has gone through the assessment and everything, and coming in front of everybody's not easy.
Yeah. No.
I think that means a lot.
I agree. Anything else? Motion's been given to approve with a second, so let's go forward with our vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that moves us on to new business. 7A is to discuss and possibly act on a resolution authorizing the issuance of and sale of $2,070,000 in general obligation promissory notes. This is Series 2018A. This is basically the borrowing package that we have for 2018, and going through some of the official financial side of it. So Todd is here from Elders to help us through some of the information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to a final copy of the resolution that has all the blanks filled in and other pertinent details, I had handed out a sale day report. I'd like to just remark briefly on a few pages of that. So if you can locate that, flip past the cover, and then also flip past sort of the one-page summary form, what you'll find is the bid tabulation. You did receive a total of 4 bids for purchase of the notes. The winning bidder is listed first, Bankers Bank out of Madison. The important numbers on the far right-hand side of the exhibit, the true interest rate, which is the basis for award, which was 2.6466. You can see where the remaining 3 bids from Baird, Northland Securities, and BOK, all regional bidders came in. I thought one of the interesting things is the grouping of the bids was less than 3/100ths of 1% apart. So that's an indication that you've got good pricing because everyone looked at this as being appropriate to purchase at that level. On the page following the bid tabulation, there's the project costs and financing plan. We have the first column is what you authorized last month. That's the $2,070,000. What we're asking you to approve this evening is a total of $2,060,000 in notes. And if you look at that far right-hand column, the difference, the reason that we're decreasing the note issue size by $10,000 is when underwriters are bidding on the notes, they're competing on 2 things. One is to provide the lowest overall interest rate, but they're also competing on the smallest amount of transaction compensation that they retain for themselves, which is what we call the discount. So we had allowed bidders to keep up to $20,700, which was 1% of the issue size, as their compensation for underwriting the transaction. In this case, Bankers Bank only is taking $10,300 of that. And so that, along with the interest cost, provides them the lowest bid. What it means for you is that we can issue $10,000 less in notes, but you still receive the same amount of money for your projects. On the next page, we've got a comparison of the estimated principal and interest and then the actual results with the interest rates plugged in. We had estimated $2,375,248. The principal and interest you'll actually pay over the term of the notes will be about $36,700 less than that. $10,000 of that totals, again, because we reduced the principal you're repaying, and then the balance is a result of lower interest rates. When we started planning for this a couple months ago, to be conservative, we assumed that interest rates will go up by 0.25% between June and now. Interest rates really have not moved a whole lot over the last few months, so that hedge we had built in just for planning purposes ended up not being reflected in where the market has moved to right now. And then the final page I would comment on would be that same actual debt service schedule, just put into the context of the existing debt of the town. And what you see on the very far right-hand side is that for budget year 2019 and for the next couple years, the impact on the tax rate will be about 16 cents per thousand of value, and then starts to decline a little bit over time based on assumed growth in town valuation. Also, for your reference, we've attached a copy of the Moody's rating report. We go through that process each time we undertake a financing. Moody's did affirm the town's AA3 bond rating as part of this process, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So I just have a couple of questions. This may be for Joel more. But when we make the motion for this, should it be for that, for $2,070,000 or $2,060,000? Should be for $2,060,000, right? So any documents that would be signed to reflect that as far as the resolution, correct?
So Todd has given you the updated copy of the resolution with all the numbers in it.
Okay.
So yeah, your resolution essentially would be for $2,060,000.
Okay. I see that at the top.
Question on the rating.
Go ahead.
Can you tell them we have the A, did you call it A, AAA?
AA3.
Is that the highest a town of our size could get, or is there?
No, there's no limitation. That's just simply due to the form of government. All our things being equal, towns are sometimes rated slightly lower, just as a function of the fact that you can be annexed. Although, we had discussions about that on the rating call. In this case, it's really just a function of the overall size of the tax base, your current financial profile. If you look at the summary, the town's actually in great shape. So the rating really corresponds to where you are right now, and if there's continued growth, if there's continued good financial performance, the fact that you're a town is not going to preclude you from moving up to the AA2 category, which is the next rating classification.
A couple things I don't think you said quite loud enough when you were talking there. So you said we're in great financial shape. That's a good thing to repeat from a town standpoint. And then also, we are a town, so that we're going through the incorporation process. I'm sure you're aware of that. So
Yes, that was
working on
something
that,
we
so.
talked about during the call as well.
Yep. So our rating could improve just based on that. Get a better interest rates overall.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't necessarily expect you to automatically go up because you became a village. These
Right.
are all factors in there. But, fundamentally, it's your tax base, it's the local economy, it's your financial position. Those are the largest drivers of the rating.
Okay. And these, like I said, were for the borrowing package that we've put together, things that are needed for the town.
That's correct.
I do want to point out in your pre-sale report that was in your packet, based on that pre-sale anticipation of notes of $2,070,000 versus the $2,060,000, and the improvement on the interest rate. If you go to page 5 of the issuance and projected tax impact report, you can see we're saving roughly $60,000 a year in principal and interest payments over what that original anticipated interest rate was in your packet. So there is a substantial improvement with the better interest rate that we received during the bidding process, and the fact that we were able to reduce that overall issuance. I think the 2019 net levy debt service payment was over $800,000 in the original anticipated pre-sale report, whereas here we're looking at roughly $745,000.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Gene, just to clarify, the motions to approve the resolution providing for the sale of $2,060,000 in general obligation promissory notes.
Sorry, should have read that.
Just want to make sure.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
I'll second Dean's motion.
All right. Motion's been made with a second. Any other questions or comments? I'm not hearing any, so let's go forward with our vote on this. Standard vote, okay? All right, so let's go forward with the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. That means item 7A is approved. Yep.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Todd. That moves us to 7B, discussion and possible action for ordinance 04-18, repealing and recreating section 23-3A and creating Article 3. This is for Fire Commission of Chapter 23, Town of Greenville Municipal Code. This is a ways down.
Just to give everyone a quick overview, back in April of this past year, the town board approved appointing a 5-member body to an ad hoc fire committee. The role of this committee was to create a recommendation for the town board's consideration in the formation of a fire commission in accordance to Wisconsin State Statute 60.57. That committee has met twice in the past few months. Rick Fisher, who is here with us this evening, was appointed the chairperson of that committee. And through their review of the statutes as it relates to the creation of a fire commission for the town Greenville and our current code, they are simply recommending to the town board to adopt an ordinance that would grant the power and authority as prescribed under Wisconsin state statutes to create a board of fire commissioners. In your packet is a draft ordinance to do such. Essentially what that draft ordinance will be doing is repealing and recreating a portion of Chapter 23 that takes the authority of appointing the fire chief from the town board and places it appropriately within the Board of Fire Commissioners' auspices. This is in accordance to Wisconsin state statutes. In addition to that, it essentially creates Article 3 under Chapter 23, which identifies how the Board of Commissioners will be formed, how many members of that commission will be a part of that group. It also identifies the proper authorities as prescribed under the statutes, to be included for that particular body. It should be noted that the recommendation from the committee in the formation of the Fire Commission is to exclude the provisions of 62.136 of Wisconsin state statutes. Those are titled optional powers of the board. Essentially, those powers would grant authority over budgetary and financial matters for the fire department. We felt that it was appropriate for the town board to still retain the power of the purse, if you will, in determining the overall budget and finances for that particular department. Essentially, what the commission will be responsible for are really human resource related matters, such as appointing or removing the fire chief from authority. Also establishing hiring processes and procedures for department members, as well as serving as the hearing body for grievances and other disputes and resolutions as it relates to either promotion, demotion, or discipline of individual members within the department. As I mentioned, Rick is here this evening to provide any support or guidance from the committee. Otherwise, you have a copy of the ordinance in front of you for possible consideration. I also lastly want to point out that the intent is to, if this is approved, to postpone the actual publication or posting of this notice until December 1st of 2018. The intent of that is to allow the committee to continue to work over the next few months in review of the hiring procedures that the department is using, so that by December 1st, when the department does their second or their biannual hiring process, the committee or now then formed commission would have all the information available to make those formal appointments for the fire chief.
Rick, do you have any comments?
No, great job. You explained it very well.
Okay. So I just have a question because I would be the one appointing the people to the commission. You said we would not notice until time was necessary to meet the December 1st need?
Correct.
But we'd still appoint them and approve them and get the commission all set up. It's just notice wouldn't be out.
They wouldn't have official authority under the ordinances until December 1st, correct?
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 04-18, creating a fire commission under chapter 60.57 of the Wisconsin state statutes. Needs a second.
I'll second.
Dean Culbertson's getting a second. Is there any questions or comments? I'm not hearing any, but I've got some of myself. Just a real quick comment. I think the people that were selected for the ad hoc committee did a really good job, and I'll be reaching out to them to see if they would like to be a part of the commission individually. Ask them, and then make appointments shortly, so that can be taken care of in short order, and we can be moving along. All right. So a motion's been made with a second. This would be to adopt the ordinance 04-18, creating a fire commission under chapter 60.57 of Wisconsin state statutes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 7B is approved. 7C, this is discuss possibly act on a plat of right-of-way required for Town of Greenville County Highway CV Trail Project and authorization for relocation orders as necessary. Questions on this, or is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to go ahead and, resolution the plot of right-of-way required for the Town of Greenville County Trunk Highway CD Trail Project authorization for relocation orders as necessary.
Good, I'll second. Any other questions or comments? Just for clarification, Dean, this is from State Highway 96 to Levi Drive? Okay, just want to make sure. Any other questions or comments? Motion's been made with a second. No questions or comments, so let's go forward with our vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the plat of right-of-way required for the Town of Greenville for County Highway CB Trail Project? This would be from State Highway 96 to Levi Drive. This an authorization for relocation orders. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 7C is approved. 7D, discuss, possibly act, acquisition services for PLEs and TLEs for the County Highway CB Trail Project with Moss and Associates. So PLEs, permanent limited easements and temporary limited easements for TLEs.
Yeah, this particular item is related to the last action that you had performed. So the plat of right-of-way identifies the areas where permanent limited easements and temporary limited easements will be needed to construct the County Highway CB Bike Trail. In order to comply with the TAP grant program funds from the federal government, we need to have a certified property acquisition specialist assist us in acquiring those PLEs and TLEs. So Mr. Moss from Moss and Associates has helped us before with these grant projects, and he is a certified Wisconsin DOT acquisition specialist and would be able to meet the grant requirements that are presented to us.
Okay.
And just for clarification, PLEs stand for permanent limited easements, TLEs stand for temporary limited easements. We are not buying right-of-way. We are essentially buying easements. By doing that, we don't create undue hardship on the property owners that abut County Highway CB as far as setbacks are concerned. Setbacks are based on the property line, not necessarily based on the easement area.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go into agreement for services with Moss and Associates for the County Highway CB Trail Extension Project as presented.
Second.
Mike's given a second. Any questions or comments? I'm not hearing any questions or comments, so let's go forward with the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 7D is approved. 7E, discussion and possible action, design drive extension and update on TID #1 planning and design engineering.
Just to give everyone an overview, if you recall, a few weeks back, the town board did approve kind of a concept 4 and concept 4B, if you will. The desire from the town board was to have staff reach out to officials with the town of Grand Chute about the possibility of extending a regional stormwater facility east of Mayflower Road. Michael Brown, our community development director, and I met with some officials from Grand Chute. They had indicated no interest in extending that regional facility on the north end of the TID district across Mayflower Road. However, they did express some interest about maybe regionalizing some facilities on the southern section. If you recall, as part of our TID planning exercise, we looked at properties to the south of the TID area for regional facilities to help support development in the existing development, or existing business park. So that would certainly work well, but it doesn't certainly satisfy our need or interest here. So with that, obviously option 4 that was presented a few weeks back is the preferred option. And we've got indication from the property owners that are affected by this that is their most preferred option, albeit maybe not each individual property owner within each individual trust can come to an agreement. With that being said, we did reach out to McMahon, who has been providing us with the planning aspect of the development of infrastructure within the TID. They have put together a proposal to create the final design plans for this particular project that's including road, water, sewer, and stormwater facilities. With that, they would create a plat of right-of-way, which would identify where the road would be located so that we could officially map it, record that right-of-way, and then be in a position to acquire right-of-way either through direct acquisition or through the dedication of lands as development occurs. Within our TID plan, design drive was planned for design and engineering in 2019 or 2018 with construction in 2019 and 2020. So we are in concert with the plan for the overall TID project. I do want to point out, however, within that project plan for the TID that the infrastructure for design drive was intended to be assessed back to the individual property owners, and that was itemized within that project plan. So if we were to construct it ourselves, the board would ultimately need to decide, are we going to truly assess that based on that project plan, or amend our plan to include those as project costs for the overall TID design. That's not necessary for this evening, but it's a seed that I wish to plant with you so that when we get to that part, after planning and design work is done,
we're going to need to make a decision whether or not we're going to actually install the infrastructure or wait until development arrives.
Any questions on this, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the final concept and officially map the extension of Sign Drive from County Highway CB to Mayflower Road, and approve the agreement for professional services with McMahon to develop a plot right-of-way, street utility, and pond design for TID number 1.
Andy's given our motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mike Woods is given a second. Questions or comments? Well, I just encourage the town staff to keep moving forward on this. This is a good project for the community. It would definitely help build out our business park and offset some of the residential growth that we have as far as our taxes and such. A motion's been made with a second. Any other questions or comments? Since there are none, let's go forward with our vote. All in favor to approve the motion as it was stated should state so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 7E is approved. 7F, discussion and possible action, proposed revisions to the Town of Greenville Employee Handbook. Joel, do you have any background you want to state on this?
Just a quick note here. Obviously, this is a large document that has a number of changes and revisions to it. Essentially, what we were tasked with over the last few months is to do a complete rewrite of our employee handbook. So essentially, we took the old handbook and threw it in the recycling bin and started over. And you can see that as evidence in the current handbook. There's a lot of content in there. The intent here is to ensure that we reflect any industry standards as it relates to policy and procedure for human resource related matters. We also intended to create uniformity. There are a number of instances in our prior handbook where a certain class of employees or employees within certain departments were issued certain privileges or benefits that maybe other employees or classes of employees were not receiving, so we wanted to ensure that there was uniformity. And then finally, we wanted to meet any regulatory requirements that need to be identified within the handbook. Things like sexual harassment, affirmative action, harassment policies, so on and so forth were included. This process has been a series of months in the undertaking. What we essentially did is we crafted an internal employee committee that represented every department within the town. Individuals met on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to review sections or chapters of the handbook and craft language that was clear, concise, and appropriate. After those committee meetings were completed and a draft was formed, we did send this handbook to our town attorney, of which they've then reviewed and confirmed that the language within the handbook meets the required language as necessary for human resource related matters. With that, I understand it is a large document and board members may wish to take some time to review it. We would be prepared to adopt the handbook tonight if that is your desire. If not, we would ask that it be brought forward to the next town board meeting. Our intent is to try to have this adopted before the end of August so that we can do an all-staff in-service training at the end of the month and update the employees of the handbook. With that, I can certainly answer any specific questions and hopefully address those concerns.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the staff, not just the ones that worked on this, because the other ones were all working and doing things that were important for the town while this was being addressed by the committee. Obviously, there's a lot of time that was put into this. I saw the handbook that we had before, and it was much needed. Having just received this on Friday, I would like to make a motion to table this agenda item until our next meeting, just so that we have time to read it over and ask any questions. I do ask that the town board take the time to read it over, and if you have questions on topics, not to wait until that meeting, but to bring those back to Joel as our focal point for this as soon as you're through the handbook, and make sure that the proper actions can be taken. If there's corrections or questions can be answered on why something was stated the way it is, or why there's certain items in or out of that handbook. So I would look for all those questions to be answered prior to our next meeting, which will be the 27th. Any questions or concerns on that? Otherwise, I need a second for the motion to table.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, let's go forward with our vote. A motion's been made to table agenda item 7F until the meeting on the 27th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right, 7F is tabled. 7G, this is discussion and possible action, a GPS device and equipment purchases for engineering technician and GIS staff. So this will be used by Tim and our GIS staff as they work in their roles for the community. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a Trimble R2 RTK and a Trimble TSC7 for $19,851.03.
Second that.
Okay, any questions or comments? Not hearing any. Let's go forward with our vote. A motion's been made to approve the purchase of a Trimble R2 RTK and a Trimble TSC7 for $19,851.03. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 7G is approved. 7H, this is a discussion and possible action for Jenner John Park Sledding Hill lighting. Looks like there's been a bid that's been submitted. The town is putting forth for recommendation. I know that this has been a topic that we've talked about during budget season for some time. Set some money aside this year to get this done for the safety of those that use that. Is there anybody willing to make a motion, or is there questions or comments?
I'll make a motion. On the contract for the Jenner John Park Sledding Hill.
Okay, Dean's made a motion to approve the contract for the installation of lighting on the Jenner John Park Sledding Hill and ice rink. Is this with Bus Electric, Dean? Okay, that's what's stated.
Second that.
That recommendation. Mike's given the second. Dean, do you have questions or comments?
Just a comment, what was the park commission's vote on that? Was it unanimous or not?
I voted against it. I have experience firsthand nighttime sledding, what happens. I've seen the accidents on that Pond Park, so you can't see the jumps and the ruts from the light on top. And Kate broke his neck, so I encourage nighttime sledding.
Okay, thanks, Greg. I can see your point. It's been a while since I've done any downhill skiing, but you get the same type of thing. When you don't have the right lighting from the right angle, it's hard to see the depth in the snow hill and some of the bumps and jumps that are either naturally there or man-made. So I can understand your point. But with that, I am one of those people that still does some nighttime sledding, even at my tender years. Not a kid anymore, but still like to act like one, especially with my own kids. So I think it would be wise for us to put some lighting up there and at least see how it goes. Obviously, this is expensive. Let's just see how it goes. So it's something that will, just for the safety of those that are there in general, just to have some light on people that are up there would be good. So, Dean, you've made the motion to approve the contract with Bus Electric for the installation of lighting at Jenner John Park Sledding Hill and Ice Rink, correct? Yes. And Mike, you gave the second? Correct. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Not hearing any, let's go forward with our vote. All in favor to approve the motion as it was just stated, say aye. 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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries a vote of 3-1. 7H is approved. 7I, discussion and possible action, outdoor warning sirens update. So Joel, I want to ask you, what is the county doing what's their plan? Looks like we've got a couple of things in our packet. Beginning in January 2018, the county will no longer be replacing sirens. The local municipality would be given the authority to replace the siren if they choose, but at their own cost. And beginning in January 2020, the county will be implementing some changes which will require the towns, cities, and villages that currently have outdoor warning systems to make some decisions. Because the county will no longer maintain the outdoor warning system, the sirens will continue to be sounded, though, automatically per the existing Outagamie County outdoor warning system policy, but only sounded in emergencies by the National Weather Service.
That's correct. So as of January 1 of this year, if one of our 4 outdoor warning sirens went down and needed to be replaced or have substantial repair to them, the town would be not necessarily required, but would be asked to fund the replacement or the repair of that. The county would no longer repair those systems. So once the siren is down and needs to be repaired or replaced, it would no longer do that. Beginning in 2020, the county will be, again, no longer maintaining the entire system. So they would issue the notices through the system to sound the alarm, but that notice would be based on what the National Weather Service has identified as a tornado warning. There would be no other change or sounding of the alarm. As part of that process, you receive some communication from the county about some tentative plans for public education and information to begin next year in 2019 to inform the general public of these changes. The town board would ultimately need to make a decision from a budgetary standpoint if we're going to allocate some funds for the repair and or maintenance of these facilities going forward after 2018, as it will be our responsibility. Beyond that, the county has distributed some weather radios to each of the jurisdictions or municipalities within the county. Essentially, we received 18 free weather radios for each outdoor warning siren in our jurisdiction. So to date, we've received 72 free weather radios. Those were just distributed to us recently. We would need to decide how to best distribute those weather radios from a staff perspective. And talking with our emergency management director, Chris Schletka, and myself, we would recommend trying to get those to the mobile home park, talking with management out there and trying to get those distributed to each of the tenants within the park. Beyond that, the county will be selling weather radios, so the town, again, could decide whether or not we want to purchase some radios in bulk and then make them available for free to our residents or provide them for resale here at Town Hall. That would be up to the town board at that time. So for tonight's purposes, I just wanted to make sure that the board is still staying in the loop with the communications that we're receiving from Outagamie County as their changes are beginning to become implemented in regards to the outdoor warning system. I wanted to inform you that we have received our 72 free weather radios from the county, and that we just seek some direction from the board that distribution of those radios to the mobile home park would be the most appropriate. And that's all I had.
Okay. So before we make any comments, Dean, can you provide just the thought process behind this from the county, why this came up, and what was the voting results from the county? I know it's in our packet, but maybe just to tell everybody.
I know there's 4 no's and there's 3 absence, and the rest were voted in favor of the resolution to get out of the siren business. It was 29 to 4 with 3 absent. The discussion took on quite a debate, and the debate centered on the fact that we're in the 21st century. Sirens were produced probably before the 1950s, but they came into effect in the 50s because of the potential for atomic war and all that, and for tornadoes, they are a very high maintenance piece of equipment. They're not reliable. We've had numerous storms here in the valley where they haven't operated for whatever reason. Either they were not functioning or somebody failed to trip the button to make them work. And it was felt that with the advent of cell phones, weather radios, and other technology, that is a far better option to use. Where I live on the southwest corner of the town, I hardly ever hear a siren. I monitor my phone if there's any weather in there, and I have an app on my phone that goes off if there's a tornado in the area. There's a gentleman that usually sits in that chair. Jim Ziegler. He never hears a siren. So our entire town is not totally covered by sirens anyway, and it does have an effect on which way the wind is blowing. So the county board felt it was time that maybe we start looking at other technology and get out of the siren business.
From a county standpoint, I see that the weather radios are coming in, but are they doing anything else to promote newer technologies besides the radios and cell phones? Are they?
If you look on the county website, they're promoting that you go ahead and get that app on your cell phone. It takes like 30 seconds to do it, and it's very accurate. I don't know if there's anybody you're using right now than myself. Okay, you really should take a look at that. I can't think of the terminology. I could look it up, or Joel, you could take a look quickly, but we should put something in the newsletter that people need to start monitoring that. It's definitely the way to go. It's the safest way to go.
App have it.
The system is called AtHoc, and essentially it's created by BlackBerry, the same people that made that cell phone that was popular back in the early 2000s. They still create certain things that do really well, and AtHoc is one of those. In your packet, there is a link to download that app. With that being said, as Dean had mentioned, there is a link on the county's website. I think we could certainly include this notification system within our next newsletter, and then also try to get some information on our website and social media accounts to try to inform the general public of that usage.
AtHoc. That's spelled ATHOC.
Correct.
Vicky, go ahead.
I was part of a group of people with emergency management that
Excuse me, can you turn to the microphone?
Yeah, you should really come up. Thank you, Dean. This is important for everybody here, Vicky, so I appreciate that.
I was part of a volunteer group called VOED that helped deliver these emergency radios to all the mobile home parks in Outagamie County. So everyone had the opportunity in the mobile home parks to get a free one. So I don't know if that changes who you may want to distribute to. Maybe some of the elderly folks or.
Was that this year, Vicky, or was that a few years back? I thought that was a couple years past already.
We did some, yeah, it was late last year in the fall that we did some, so.
So the trailer park in Greenville was covered?
Yes. I mean, I can find out if, because that's part of what I worked with was that mobile home park. So, I mean, I think we caught just about everybody in there. Some people didn't want one, so, and they weren't forced to take one, so.
Okay. So some things to consider as we start distributing radios that we do have. I do think the mobile park would be go out there and ask if they would like to have one if they don't have one already. I think Vicky's point about hitting some of our elderly, especially on the more rural areas of Greenville, will be beneficial. Do we have any cost estimates, or could we get them for our budget season on what it costs to maintain an individual siren or replace? Just so we have awareness of that. That would be my recommendation, that we have those figures available when we go through that budget season, just so we have that information for a decision. Is there any other comments or questions?
I think maintenance would be difficult to get a handle on, but replacement, I think you can get a number on.
Okay. And for those that are wondering in the audience, I do multitask from time to time up here, and I've downloaded the AtHoc app and done the verification through email just while we were sitting here. So it's pretty straightforward and simple to do. You do need an email address to send a verification to, and then it finishes out your instructions. So one of the rare times that I do multitask, I guess, from time to time. All right. Any other things you need from Joel from us? Okay. That finishes up 7I. Any announcements then, Joel? Would you like to go first?
As Jack had mentioned before the start of the meeting, Election Day is tomorrow for the partisan primary election and our fire and safety building referendum. Polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Individuals that are in line prior to the closing of polls will be allowed to vote, so don't think that you can't vote. If you are in line before 8 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. We will be publishing our election results, in particular the referendum results, online and through our social media sites after the close of polls, and we'll try to get the word out as best we can as to the results of those. Tied to that, we have a noticed and published meeting for a special town meeting on Tuesday, August 21st at 6:30 p.m. This meeting has been scheduled in the event that there is a successful referendum tomorrow to allow the town electors to determine if the board will be given the authority to construct and build that new fire and safety building. So again, that's next week, Tuesday, August 21st at 6:30 p.m. As of right now, it's planned for here at Town Hall. We have our Board of Review meeting set for August 30th from 4 until 6 p.m. Beyond that, Planning Commission and Town Board meeting again on August 27th. With that, I believe there's a special comprehensive planning meeting on that same day at 4 o'clock. So just be at 4:30, excuse me. So be advised of that. And it sounds like Park Commission is moving their meeting until September. So that'll be September 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Okay, that's all I had.
Tuesday, right? Okay.
Where's that at then?
That'll be a community park.
And polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right,
Sorry, typing.
making sure everybody's awake. All right. I don't have any other announcements than that, Joel. Thank you for covering all those. Our hearing for incorporation, you touched on that as well. It's the 29th.
Yeah, hearing for incorporation is on August 29th at 9 a.m. at the Outagamie County Courthouse.
Okay, so
I don't have it right in front of me, but branch 2, I believe.
should we be posting a notice in case 3 of us show up?
We already posted a possible quorum notice for that.
All right. Excellent. You are. All right. So I don't have any further announcements. Just need a motion to adjourn.
So move to adjourn.
I'll give a second. All in favor to adjourn our meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Meeting's adjourned at 6:59 p.m. We'll start sanitary district in just a few minutes.